When we first started discussing the Bachelor of Arts in Global Sustainable Tourism, we looked at Florida's #1 industry, hospitality and tourism. More specifically, the tourism dollars that are generated by that industry.
Tourism can be a tool for conservation. In fact, in the long term, conservation and preservation of resources and economics go together. And that's what we're trying to do and will do here in the state of Florida.
By focusing on protecting our environment and natural resources, we're thereby protecting the tourism dollars to the state of Florida.
The Bachelor of Arts in Global Sustainable Tourism is very unique. There are only 6 or 7 programs of this nature in the entire country.
This program fulfills a unique need in the industry for people who will be qualified to be managers in sustainability, to not only take care of customer experiences, but also the need to balance our environment and planet.
FIU's Global Sustainable Tourism Program is unique. It combines the hospitality management school with the Department of Earth and Environment, so students have both aspects which are necessary really to understand things, how to deal with them in a changing environment.
Our focus is to prepare the next generation of hospitality and tourism managers with a specific skill set in sustainability efforts. In doing so, they'll have a better understanding of the impact of tourism on our environment.
This degree was created to give students the skills to not only be experts in hospitality and tourism, but to also have the scientific background to be able to recognize and mitigate environmental and sociocultural issues.
Our students in this program will be able to learn about sustainability, environmental sciences, and the business of hospitality and tourism, and be able to apply it in any industry.
Courses in this program will not only be taught by tourism and hospitality professors, but also by professors with a specialty in earth and environmental sciences.
Our students will be uniquely prepared to field jobs in the cruise line industry, the hotel industry, the airline industry, convention and visitors bureaus, meetings and plannings, tour operators, and so on.
This degree is important because it enables us to safeguard our natural and cultural resources that help us attract tourism in the first place. Without these quality resources, we have no tourism product to offer. The need for this degree is in preserving what actually makes us unique and special, so as to ensure the future of this industry.
happen if it wasn't for the FIU students.
Any live event experience when you got timeline and time sensitive and it's now, like this is great experience for you all for life.
What does it mean to run a world-renowned wine and food festival on the sands of South Beach? It means organizing 1,200 FIU student volunteers to run amazing events all over Miami Beach.
It means supporting my alma mater while partnering with some of the greatest chefs and restaurant groups in the country.
It means work hard, play hard, eat, drink, educate, and last but not least, go Panthers.
Thank you, FIU students, for making this festival happen. It's been a lot of fun.
This is Dwayne Wade. I just want to send a lot of love and a lot of patience to all the volunteers. Thank you guys for giving up your time.
Neil Patrick here. I'm with David Burtka.
Yo, what up? Happy drag brunch.
We just want to say thank you so much to all the hospitality people, for everyone at FIU, for all that you do.
Jet Tila here. Thanks so much for all you do for the festival. And your future is limitless, and it's because of FIU. See you later.
Okay, so rushing back down here.
Yes. Hello, Dr. Bushman.
Upstairs office. I told you earlier about my very close friend and collaborator, Chef John Noble Masi, graduate of the Culinary Institute of America, local president of the American Culinary Federation, working on his PhD, almost ready to call him doctor, but to me, he's always chef. And would you like to explain why your assistant is here and what Rowan's role is in all this?
I would love to, John. First of all, thank you, and thank you, Joanna, and the Sustainable Events
Get out
Network.
of your kitchen.
Right?
I know how chefs can be
Well,
temperamental.
John is getting very good in the kitchen, actually. So he's working on his kitchen skills. So thank you for joining us. I'm joined today by one of my awesome students who happens to also be 3 times teaching assistant for me, one of our interns at the Bacardi Center for Excellence, and also the president of the FIU Coffee Guild, which John mentioned, Dr. Bushman mentioned earlier. So I'm joined by an awesome student. Today we've got 2 recipes for you, all right, all along on the theme of, as Joanna mentioned, we need to dough better, and our colleagues provided us with some awesome fresh bread that was made from spent grains. We're using that bread ostensibly if it was out sitting, it was left over, a little crusty, right? There are many different recipes that you can make. Rowan's got a great recipe. We'll share that with you. I've got a great recipe as well. We'll share that with you. And we'll go over some tips that we think are important in being more sustainable and reducing food waste. But first, Rowan, what are you going to make for us today, and what's cooking?
So I'm actually going to make a recipe that I created. I've called it the brochetta. It is a bread-based croqueta. It's actually based on the Glamorgan sausage recipe, which was invented in Wales in the medieval times, and it was popularized across Britain in World War II due to rationing.
Ah, right. And as we found out, like in our research, right, there's most cultures, whether it's the US or outside the US, are finding very creative ways to use bread and leftover bread. So Rowan, why don't you talk about your recipe, and then we'll get into some of the other things that other people are doing.
Sure, you want me to just go ahead and get started on it?
Yes, let's talk through everybody.
All right. Okay, so the basic part of this recipe is going to be just breadcrumbs, which makes it really easy and really affordable. And what we do with the breadcrumbs is we're actually going to take a leftover bread pasta sauce, and we're just going to add about 3 to 4 tablespoons of that. And what we're going to do is we're going to get glove on.
And so while we focus on sustainability in everything that we do, I always make sure that we're also focusing on sanitation and safety. So making sure that all of our students wear gloves 100% of the time, particularly moving away from COVID. We're making sure that they're reinforcing sanitation and safety standards.
So we're just going to go ahead and mix that all up until it
So that was actually some marinara sauce that we made in our other class that we had left over. Obviously, students love pizza, so that's going to go into some pizza tomorrow.
So once we have it all nice and mixed together like this, we are going to go ahead and we would have been sauteing. I previously sauteed the shallots, so we want to saute it until it's about a golden brown. We're just going to add an entire shallot, and we're going to add 8 strips of bacon, our Swiss cheese. We're also going to add some parsley and some thyme. And we're going to mix that all together.
And this is just the basis for any croqueta that we're going to make for a filling traditionally, right? So down here, you'll see a ham and cheese croqueta. This is just a variation of that, right, Ron?
Yeah, the reason I picked the flavors I did was I was inspired by a Cuban sandwich.
Ah, right. So that's, I always think that the best ideas come from innovating classics, like whether it be a Cuban sandwich or something like that, and just a different take on it. So this is looking really good.
Yeah. So we're going to put that aside for just a minute, and we're actually going to add some mustard to a whipped egg. I've already pre-whipped the egg, and we're just going to add our mustard to it. And we're going to add just a little bit of salt and pepper to taste.
And we have our Badia spices. The school has a partnership with a couple different generous donors. Badia spices is one of them. So we obviously want to support them as well.
Yeah. So once we have this fully mixed, we are just going to take a little bit, about 2 tablespoons, and we're going to reserve this so that we can actually roll our formed croquetas in it and get a beautiful crust on the outside when we go to fry them. And the rest of this is going to go straight into our mixture as the binding ingredient, so that it'll all stay connected. So once that is completely mixed, we are just going to separate them out into little balls and roll them out into the sausage shape.
And we focused on 2 savory dishes today. Typically, when you think of things to do with leftover bread, more often than not, they're sweet dishes. Like we were talking with one of our students that runs our reception desk. She was making French toast with her leftover bread. Rowan makes bread pudding. And the last demonstration I think that I did was on making a sustainable bread pudding with using whole oranges pureed into it. So we've got 2 savory dishes today.
Yeah. Once we get these into our traditional croqueta shape, we're just gonna put them aside. And once we have them all shaped out, we'll roll them out, bread them, and pan fry them.
And we'll roll these 2 just so that we have a demonstration, and then we'll roll the rest for later for family meal for our students. No students ever go hungry or thirsty at this school.
Oh no, definitely not. So as you can see, this is a little loose, so I probably could have used a little bit more egg, a little bit more binding agent, but they're getting there. Okay. We'll do 3.
Yeah, let's do 3. And while Rowan's doing that, I'm gonna heat up our oil here. We've got a little bit of olive oil. You probably want to use, you could use olive oil, you could use a neutral flavored vegetable oil, canola oil.
Sunflower oil is one of my favorites for sustainability's sake, just because it's a byproduct. Right.
And sunflower oil is also pretty good for you.
Oh yeah.
Right? High oleic acids. From when you're looking at a choice of oils, that's a good one.
Yeah. All right. So once we have our little sausage shakes, we are just gonna roll it in our egg, and then roll it into our breadcrumb leftover, and that's gonna give us that beautiful crunchy outside exterior that everybody loves from croquetas.
And we're pan frying these. You could obviously deep fry these as well. while we're talking about that, Rowan, while we're breading those, what would be one of the tips that you'd offer for some of our listeners, our participants in the webinar today about improving their sustainability and reducing food waste in their operations? Any suggestions?
Yeah, it's actually surprisingly easy to grow your own food. I do it at my house. I have less than 1/4 of an acre of land, and I'm actually almost self-sustainable when it comes to producing my own fruits and vegetables. It's quite easy, and you actually don't even need to use any pesticides or anything like that. I'm a completely organic garden, and it's very good for the environment because it also supports all of our local pollinators as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's your favorite fruit or vegetable that you're growing?
Ooh, I have got too many key limes to count right now, Chef.
Okay. We will look forward. I know Rowan brought in some ghost peppers. And if you've ever had a ghost pepper, one goes a really long way. And Rowan was kind enough to share a whole bag of them with me.
About a pound.
Right. So do you want to get to frying those?
Yep, we will go ahead and we'll get them.
And we've got that ready. Let's see. While Rowan's frying those, I love the idea of growing your own food, and whether it's, I've seen for sustainable events, rather than buying herbs that are already picked or boxed, having herb plants, whether it's a fresh basil plant or parsley, a thyme plant, and then picking off of the plant. I love the new garden towers that you're seeing that people are bringing to their houses. So you can do that for events. Think about the freshness perception that adds to an event. If you're snipping greens or fresh herbs off of a fresh live plant or an herb or lettuce tower versus doing it like everybody else does, that's already chopped up or not off of a fresh plant. Those are looking great, Ron.
Thank you. Got to make them until they're nice and golden brown.
Now, Rowan's dish here, you saw it had bacon. I think one of the primary things that we can do to improve sustainability and reduce food waste is include more vegetables in our, whether it's events or our menus, vegetable options. Vegetables have a longer shelf life than a typical animal protein or a seafood. So if we offer more vegetables, we're going to offer healthier items. Sometimes it's up to us as chefs and event managers to make sure that we're doing a nice job with vegetables rather than serve steamed cauliflower. And some of you may like steamed cauliflower, but that big difference between a steamed cauliflower and a roasted cauliflower with some curry or turmeric, with an interesting sauce, that sounds delicious. So it's up to us to menu things that have more vegetables.
Yeah, especially because a lot of people these days they're sort of teetering between vegetarian and vegan and more meat consumption. So I think it would be great to see way more people switch towards the vegetarian aspect and
right.
Really embrace vegetables.
For us personally, I know that anytime I speak with students, whether it's Rowan or some of the other students, the amount of meat that we consumed 5 or 10 years ago and what we consume today is far less. So that's not only for sustainability and reducing food waste, but that's also that third prong of the sustainability, people, planet, and profit, that the planet piece, in order for us to sustain the planet, we need to consume less animal products in the long term. So that's something that certainly is important. Those are looking good. Would you serve those with a sauce, Ron?
I would. In fact, what I would do if I had it is I would actually just put a little pickle on top to reminisce the rest of that Cuban sandwich flavor.
That does sound good. And we're going to set this aside. And why don't you show off your plate? Well, there you go. Thank you, Alan and Maud, by the way, who are our awesome tech team that are just the best support folks in the world. So thank you to those guys that are making us look really good. And there we go. We're gonna try. Well, yes, we got quality control, everybody. That's wonderful. I like that a lot.
Thank you, Chef.
So
Let me clean that up for you.
very good. We're gonna roll right into my dish. And so we've got everything set up right here. One of the things that I love to do to improve on the food waste is to do individual portions of things. So you see this silicone molds that I have here. I love using these, so it controls the portion size. If I were to do, and what I'm going to do is an egg strata. So egg strata, it sounds Italian, but it's actually born here at the U.S. Frittatas are Italian. The Spaniards add potatoes to their egg dishes in a Spanish torta. The French love quiche, right? So a strata is basically a crustless quiche. So that means it has eggs, dairy, cheese. I'm going to make this one a vegetarian one. And the first thing that I'm going to do with any quiche, with any strata or frittata, you want to cook your fillings first. You want to do that so that way they don't leach the moisture that they have in the vegetables. So vegetables have a lot of moisture, and so you want to make sure that they're cooked out a little bit. So I've got a couple things here that I'm going to put in my saute pan with a little bit of olive oil. Some of them more sustainable than others. I've got a fresh onion, so I'm going to put that in my pan. And I've got a fresh shallot. I love cooking with shallots. And then I've got some other things that are not that are leftover. So Alan or Marty, if you could show my cutting board, that would be awesome. We've got, this is some obviously this is parsley, but it's very much past its prime. Because I'm mixing this with as part of ingredients in a larger dish, I'm just going to chop this up, stems and all. Normally we'd use the stems in a stock, but I love using them in a parsley oil. Sometimes I can make as a garnish, or in this case, they're going to be part of my filling here. And I'm going to set aside some for garnish, right? Because I'm going to do a plated strata. So just a rough chop on these. And then you see right above the parsley, I've got carrot peelings. So carrot peelings, and I've got this old, not so happy carrot, right? But that carrot can be chopped up and put into this strata. Now, carrot's probably not the first ingredient that you think of in putting in a strata, nor carrot peels, but they add some color, nutrition, and that way it does not go into the waste bin or the composting bin, more importantly. So if you remember what Dr. Bushman was talking about with that inverted pyramid for improving, making sure that we are reducing reducing food waste, the most important thing is to reduce consumption. So if we're reducing consumption, that means that we got less stuff going into the landfill, more stuff going into dishes. And so stirring up my onions there. I'm going to chop up a little bit of this. We don't need this too carroty, but nice small pieces. Carrots, the onions. So and that's going to add some nice color. I'm going to add the herbs in last. We have some peppers, red bell peppers. These are all cut in little small strips. So we got that for the red. I'm going to add a little bit of garlic. This is starting to look and smell good. I wish you all were here to smell this. And while that's going on, I'm going to ask Rowan to help me out by putting evenly distributing the bread into our molds. So we've got that. And while Rowan's doing that, we're going to make our batter or the custard cream for the strata. And I mentioned that is eggs and cream. So I've got just regular whole eggs here. Just going to scramble these a little bit before I add them to the cream. Now, if you have a dairy issue, you can substitute non-dairy milk. Probably, certainly don't want to use a vanilla milk or something like that. It should be something neutral flavored. A neutral flavored almond milk would work, coconut or soy, oat milk. All of these set up nicely with the eggs. So if you've got a dairy or a lactose issue, you can certainly do that. I'm going to do the same thing here with adding the eggs to the cream. The most important thing is to understand the ratio of eggs to dairy, whether it's this cream or a non-dairy milk. You can go with quiche. You probably want to have it be about 2 to 1, 2 units of dairy to 1 unit of eggs. With the strata, because we've got the bread here, the leftover bread, you can go up to 3 to 1, 3 units of dairy to 1 unit of eggs. So in essence, if you saw, I had 1 cup of eggs and I had 3 cups of dairy here. So that fills up now I have 1 quart of finished product. So that's ready. I do want to do the same thing that Rowan did because I love using whole mustard, and I'm going to add a little bit of whole grain mustard to this custard mix. And we're going to add, while we're doing that, I think these are actually some really delicious sun-dried tomatoes, which I'm going to add into our other mix. That's plenty, beautiful colors with the red and orange. Those don't need to be cooked. We're going to stop the cooking process there. And the one other thing that we're going to do is make sure that this is seasoned with a little bit of salt and pepper. And we also want to season our vegetables. Just a little bit of salt and pepper. And normally what I do before I do anything, like we're going to create this whole sheet pan of individual stratas. What I would do if I were cooking in our kitchen, before I did that, before I cooked them all off, I would cook a sample. to make sure that the seasoning was right. So before I put these in here, we've got these cheeses. I've got, this is a Asiago cheese, a cheddar cheese, and then the sandwich, Dr. Bushman was mentioning that I have an advanced food production class that serves lunch and dinner. We had some scraps from a Swiss cheese that we were using for a turkey sandwich. So I've got, this is all just good Swiss cheese. It can't go on a sandwich because it's all broken up in these little pieces, but perfect for what we're doing here. So I'm gonna mix all the cheeses together. So we got a 3 cheese blend, 2 onions. When I say 2 onions, that's the shallot and the regular yellow onion. And Rowan, if we could put some of the vegetables in each, I'm gonna put the cheese in. So now we're shifting over here. We're gonna add some veggies and cheese. And I love this because this way you know exactly how much of each product that you're gonna put into these molds. So it can be evenly distributed. So that's gonna make for a more consistent product, right? So if you've ever seen the movie, what was it, Casino, where the Robert De Niro's character is saying, I want exactly 50 blueberries in each of these muffins, that helps create some consistency by making sure you're using these molds and we're dispersing it this way versus another process.
Hey, Chef, this is
Yes.
Joanna. Can you hear me?
Hey, Joanna. I can. Awesome. How are you?
I'm great. I'm dying here because I'm hungry. Can you
Okay.
tell us?
I wish you were here.
Me too.
We-
Did you grease the tins?
No, I did not. Thank you for, and by the way, thank you, Joanna, for asking. One of the other parts of sustainability is these silicone molds don't require spray or any greasing of any kind. They'll pop out, real super easy. There is no paper involved, so I don't have the waste of paper. I don't have and when we talk about waste, I always go back to, it's not only the food waste that's an issue, but it's also costs. So we're teaching the students to be the best managers they could possibly be, and they need to be mindful of the cost just as much as the sustainability piece. And that goes back to the P in that 3 profit, planets, and people. So in order to do stuff, right, that helps. So these silicone molds work amazing. You can get them, these are rounds, and they work great. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
I expect those are easier to clean and would waste less water as well.
Ah, look at you, Dr. Bushman. That's why we work together. Number one, not only because I love him, but because we have a shared passion and great ideas together. And so absolutely, it's less cleaning. There's no scrubbing of, it's right. There's no scrubbing of any pots. These pop right out. If we burn a pan, we got to scrub it. These, you can burn the product inside them, but you aren't gonna burn the bottom of a silicone mold.
Speaking of scrubs, did Rowan explain about the coffee scrubs yet?
Well, Rowan actually has a sample here. So I'll ask Rowan to show that to you.
I introduced the idea in the webinar portion.
I know, we heard you.
It would be great to hear from
The creator.
the author, right? What is that about? Because I'm thinking, where do I start scrubbing and what do I use?
Yeah. So as you can imagine, we go through a lot of coffee here at the school. So we have a lot of what would otherwise be waste. And what we decided to do was we decided to take all this extra used coffee, dry it out, and very quickly and easily, what we did is we added it to some coconut oil as the base. And it's actually a beautiful exfoliating body scrub. The coffee grinds actually act as the exfoliating agent, so you don't even need to worry about microplastics being introduced to your bath time. So it's very good for us in that regard. And we have a very small sample, but it's a solid item. If you want to try it out, it's great for your hands, great for your body, makes it super smooth.
Just a little bit.
Dr. Bushman, do you feel like exfoliating?
I'm exfoliating. Envious, Joanna? Smells good too.
Thank you.
So we love finding uses for any of those different, what would normally be leftover products that would go in the trash, or in this case would go into compost. So we're actually finding a use for it. And not only use for it, but my dad always used to say, his motto was clean, utilize, and improve. And that last piece is sometimes we get lost on that. We have to take ingredients as chefs, as managers, and improve them so that guests are willing to pay a value for that. So imagine if you're creating coffee scrubs from stuff that would normally go in the trash. Talk about adding value to something and then selling that. That's incredible.
Yeah, and from a business owner's perspective, the only thing that we've actually paid for in order to create this was the containers and the coconut oil. And the containers we also found are made out of sugarcane and are 97% carbon neutral products. So we've gone ahead and we've gone full sustainability on the entire project.
Fabulous. So these look beautiful just as is, but we're going to pop these in the oven. And coincidentally,
the regular Ray magic oven.
this is my favorite part, John.
Don't burn yourself.
Don't burn myself. Oh, watch out. That's hot stuff. So we did do some samples earlier, right? So just like Rachel Ray, we have some ones that are already done. And here you see, I better not burn myself. And as you can see here, these pop out just like that, right? And you could, if I were to invert it, you see a little bit more of the egg, but here you get a nice color. I did save some of my fresh herb. So here I've got just the leaves. And you know what, I just love utilizing fresh herbs in everything. And you could serve that with a little salad, a little bit of fruit. Imagine that goes on your, let's see where camera, that's going that camera, I think. There we go. Something like that. Thank you. So with fruit or a salad, whatever that may be, that's a really nice, healthy. You can do these with just egg whites as well. And so love to serve this. These are easy to see how both of our dishes took just a few minutes to make. So those are our dishes. I want to offer everybody just a few more tips, and then we'll get you all on your way and open it up to any other questions. I mean, I think, Ron, when you think about anything else, we've talked about more vegetables. You've talked about your garden. What else do you think is important for us?
A big thing that I've had to tackle here at School of Chef is labeling and waste due to expiration dates. So what I had to do with all the students here was make sure everything was labeled, make sure it was dated appropriately, make sure it was organized, what needed to be put in the freezer in order to preserve it for longer was put in the freezer. So it's storage is a big factor when it comes to reducing food waste.
Yeah, and freezer is our friend. If you have something that may look to spoil, my mom, I've got her trained as well, by the way, Dr. Bushman, right? So she buys the bunch of bananas, but it's just her. So the couple that are going to go potentially to waste, I mean, everyone and their brother and sister made banana bread over the time and got really good at baking. My mom sets aside bananas for me so I can make banana bread so that they don't go in the trash. So they're always in the freezer and they freeze up really well. For me, right, and Dr. Bush mentioned I'm pursuing my PhD. What we're finding out is many times it's just awareness, right? So everyone on this webinar is very engaged in, and Dr. Bushman, Rowan, and myself, hopefully all of our students are engaged in reducing waste, and it's part of our sustainability goals. but is everybody on your team, are they feeling that same way? And can we create more awareness with them through signage, through meetings, through getting them involved, engaging students, right? So coming up with recipes. So in order to deliver the recipes, Rowan was one of several students that submitted recipes to join us today. And so I'm thrilled with that level of engagement from students. Anything else?
We already spoke about composting. Not that I can really think of, except for maybe engaging the community as well.
Right.
Like coming up this weekend, we actually have Bonanza here at the campus, and that's actually one of Miami-Dade County's largest bay cleanup events. We're actually supporting them by offering a bunch of delicious drinks. We found a bird-safe coffee. That's a thing. Bird-safe certification on coffee is actually,
that's cool.
Yeah, and supposedly they go above and beyond the rainforest certification when it comes to the requirements. So that's something we're going to be featuring. We're also working on getting a reusable coffee cup that's made out of rice husks.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, so a traditional waste product turned into a useful product for everybody. So stuff like that, just making sure people are aware and alert that anything can be a sustainable effort if we just try a little bit harder.
That's awesome. And let's, I think one more tip, and then we'll close with one more comment. I think for us, one of the things, and I go back to my mom again. So I always telling stories, and Rowan and Dr. I always tell stories, right? So she is one person, but she loves to go to BJ's or Costco and get bulk purchases. Bulk purchases may save you some pennies in the short term, but longer term, think about the potential waste of having something sit on your shelf, go bad, not be used, or worse, expire and then go in the trash. So, what for events managers, maybe it's getting more frequent and smaller deliveries. For your personal shopping, maybe it's going to the store more often and buying individual needs versus those big cases of stuff. So that would be one more tip, and then lastly, I'll close with, and this is something that I think is probably the most important thing that we do here at school, and I'll ask Dr. Bushman to come over here, and because we are, and if you can't sense it from the discussions that we've had with all of you, and the discussions that we have with students, we are passionate about reducing food waste and sustainability, and we think that that's contagious. So the passion that we share hopefully gets, it connects with students, it connects with all of you, and I hope you enjoyed today. Anything else you want to close with, Dr. Bushman?
I want to thank you for your dedication, your time, super student Rowan, for your creativity. This is just a great day for me to see. All we do is plant a little seed and these amazing things blossom.
Right? Yeah.
Wonderful.
Right?
All right. And thank you too for those of you who persevered to the end of the webinar. We're so glad to have you, and we hope to see you here in person at our FIU Bistro or one of our many events throughout the year. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. This was fantastic. I have a question. Does the club sell any of these products? They would make great amenities. You could partner with local hotels and conference planners. We're always looking for the room amenity, the room drop.
That's a great idea, Joanna. Look at you. See, the more we get together, the more we talk.
Yeah, this is actually our first time creating the product. So we actually created it because of the Bonanza event. But it is our plan to actually take all of the bar waste that we use from the bistro, create that as a dish additive. So like all the lemons that are used as the garnishes, we can dehydrate and actually add to the scrub as well. So we actually plan on increasing this and making an even larger product that's going to involve every aspect of Chaplain here.
It's a great product to sell as a fundraiser, and we're always looking for the perfect giveaway to conference attendees, local, that's indigenous to the area. To me, it's a no-brainer. So I just think there's opportunity there. But thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. Really great. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Joanna.
Bye.